The notification pinged at 2:17 a.m. A soft chime that yanked Ethan Caldwell from the edge of sleep. His phone glowed on the nightstand, casting a faint blue halo across his cramped Brooklyn apartment. Another match, he thought, heart thudding with a mix of hope and dread. The kind that only comes from swiping through a dating app at an hour when the world feels too quiet. Ethan was 28. A graphic designer with a knack for overthinking and a heart that had been bruised one too many times. New York City, with its endless noise and fleeting connections, had started to feel like a maze he couldn't navigate. He joined ConnectSphere 3 weeks ago, spurred by a late-night wine-fueled pact with his best friend, Mia, who swore he'd find the one if he just put himself out there. Ethan wasn't so sure. His profile was honest, maybe too honest. Loves indie music. Hates small talk. Looking for someone real. He'd swiped through countless profiles, each one blurring into the next, until last night's match with James, 34, creative director. No last name, just a photo of a man with sharp cheekbones, warm brown eyes, and a smile that felt like a secret meant only for Ethan. They'd messaged briefly witty banter about bad coffee and worse commutes before James sent a single heart emoji. It was bold, disarming, and left Ethan staring at his phone, wondering what it meant. Morning came too fast. Ethan dragged himself to the subway, his portfolio bag slung over one shoulder, his mind still on that emoji. He worked at Vivid Pulse, a boutique design agency in Manhattan where creativity was king and deadlines were merciless. His boss, Lucas Harper, was the kind of leader who could charm a client in one breath and dismantle a sloppy design in the next. Lucas was 34, effortlessly charismatic, with a reputation for being both inspiring and intimidating. Ethan admired him maybe too much. The way Lucas leaned over his desk to review sketches, his voice low and thoughtful, had a way of making Ethan's pulse race. But Lucas was his boss, straight as far as anyone knew, and Ethan had long buried any foolish daydreams. At the office, Ethan settled into his cubicle, sipping lukewarm coffee and pulling up his latest project. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and he glanced at it, expecting a text from Mia. Instead, it was ConnectSphere. A new message from James. Morning. Thinking about you. Another heart emoji. Ethan's cheeks burned. He typed a quick reply, "Hey, you're up early. What's on your mind?" and hit send before he could overthink it. The reply came almost instantly. Just wondering if you're as cute in person as your profile pic suggests. Ethan stifled a laugh, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. Bold move for 8 a.m. He typed back, his heart doing a little flip. The day blurred by in a haze of meetings and revisions. Lucas was in rare form, pacing the conference room as he pitched a new campaign for a major client. Ethan couldn't help but notice the way Lucas's tailored blazer hugged his shoulders, the way his eyes lit up when he talked about bold ideas. Stop it, Ethan told himself. He's your boss. But then Lucas called him out by name, praising a mock-up Ethan had submitted. This is why we hired you, Caldwell, Lucas said, flashing a grin that made Ethan's stomach twist. He mumbled a thank you, hoping his blush wasn't obvious. That evening, Ethan met Mia at a dive bar in the East Village. Over cheap beers, he spilled everything about James, the messages, the emojis, the way each notification made his heart skip. Mia leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. He sounds into you. Have you asked to meet yet? Ethan shook his head. It's too soon. What if I don't know. Not real. Mia rolled her eyes. You're not catfishing. Ethan. Just set up a coffee date. Live a little. Back home. Ethan opened ConnectSphere again. James had sent another message. What's your dream date? No pressure. Just curious. Ethan hesitated. Then typed something simple. A walk in the park. Good music. Someone who listens. James's reply came quickly. Noted. I'm a great listener. Another heart emoji. Ethan grinned, his fingers trembling as he typed, prove it. Meet me this weekend. The response was immediate, Saturday. 7 p.m. Prospect Park. Deal. Ethan's breath caught. Deal. Saturday arrived in a whirlwind of nerves. Ethan spent an hour agonizing over his outfit: jeans, a fitted sweater. Nothing too try-hard. Prospect Park was alive with joggers and families. The late summer air warm and golden. Ethan arrived early, clutching his phone, his stomach a knot of anticipation. He scanned the crowd, looking for James's face from the profile pic. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then, from across the path, a familiar figure approached, tall, confident, with those same sharp cheekbones and warm brown eyes. Ethan froze. It wasn't just James. It was Lucas Harper, his boss. Ethan. Lucas's voice was soft, uncertain, nothing like the commanding tone Ethan knew from the office. He was holding his phone, the ConnectSphere app open on the screen. Ethan's mouth went dry. You're James. He managed, his voice barely above a whisper. Lucas nodded, a sheepish smile tugging at his lips. I didn't know it was you. I swear. The air between them crackled with tension. Ethan's mind raced. Every heart emoji, every late-night message had come from Lucas, his boss, the man he'd spent months trying not to crush on. Why didn't you say anything? Ethan asked, his voice sharper than he intended. Lucas ran a hand through his hair, looking uncharacteristically vulnerable. I didn't know it was you until now. I like talking to you. It felt real. They stood there, the park buzzing around them. But it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Ethan wanted to be angry, to demand answers. But the look in Lucas's eyes, raw, unguarded, stopped him. So what now? Ethan asked, his heart pounding. Lucas took a step closer, his voice low. Now we figure out what this is. If you want to. Ethan's breath hitched. He should walk away. This was his boss, his career, a line he shouldn't cross. But the way Lucas looked at him, like he was seeing Ethan for the first time, made it impossible to move. Okay, Ethan said softly. Let's figure it out. They walked through the park, the conversation tentative at first. Lucas admitted he'd joined ConnectSphere on a whim, tired of shallow dates and craving something deeper. Ethan shared his own fears about love, about being seen. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, and their hands brushed once, twice, before Lucas gently took Ethan's hand. It was a small gesture, but it sent a jolt through Ethan's entire body. By the time they parted ways, the air was thick with unspoken promises. Lucas's final words lingered in Ethan's mind. I don't want to mess this up. Ethan. Not with you. As he rode the subway home, Ethan's phone buzzed. A new message from Lacasno. James, tonight was better than I imagined. A heart emoji followed. Ethan smiled, his chest tight with possibility. But beneath it, a question gnawed at him. How could this work when Lucas was his boss? Monday morning hit like a freight train. Ethan stood outside Vivid Pulse, his stomach churning as he gripped his coffee cup. The memory of Saturday night, Lucas's hand in his. The way their laughter had echoed in the park felt like a dream that didn't belong in the fluorescent-lit reality of the office. He'd spent all Sunday replaying every moment, every word, torn between exhilaration and panic. Lucas was his boss. His boss. And yet, those heart emojis kept coming, each one a spark that both thrilled and terrified him. Inside, the office hummed with its usual chaos. Ethan slid into his cubicle, trying to focus on a client brief, but his eyes kept darting to Lucas's glass-walled office. Lucas was already there, leaning back in his chair, reviewing something on his laptop. He looked the same, polished, in control, but when he glanced up and caught Ethan's eye, a small, knowing smile flickered across his face. Ethan's heart stuttered. He looked away, his face hot, and buried himself in his work. By noon, Lucas called a team meeting. Ethan sat at the far end of the conference table, scribbling notes to avoid meeting Lucas's gaze. But Lucas's voice, steady and warm, kept pulling him in. Ethan, your designs for the Carter campaign are stellar, Lucas said, his tone professional but with a softness that felt personal. A few colleagues nodded, oblivious to the undercurrent. Ethan mumbled a thank you, his mind screaming, does anyone else notice? After the meeting, Lucas lingered by Ethan's desk. Got a sec? He asked, his voice casual but his eyes intense. Ethan nodded, following him to a quiet corner of the office. Lucas leaned against the wall, his usual confidence tinged with something else, nervousness. Maybe. About Saturday, he started, keeping his voice low. I meant what I said. I want to see where this goes. But I know it's complicated. Complicated. Ethan echoed, his voice sharper than he meant. You're my boss, Lucas. If anyone finds out, he stopped, glancing around to ensure no one was listening. Lucas's expression softened. I know. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I don't want to put your job at risk. Or mine. He hesitated, then added, but I can't stop thinking about you. Ethan's breath caught. He wanted to believe Lucas, to lean into the warmth of those words. But the weight of reality pressed down hard. What happens if HR finds out? Or the team? This isn't just a cute dating app story. It's our careers. Lucas nodded, his jaw tight. I get it. I do. Let's take it slow. Keep it private. No one has to know until we figure out what this is. Ethan wanted to argue, to point out the million ways this could go wrong. But the sincerity in Lucas's eyes stopped him. Okay, he said finally. Slow. Over the next week, they fell into a fragile rhythm. At work, they were professional Lucas, the charismatic leader, Ethan, the diligent designer. But outside the office, Connect's fear became their secret world. Late-night messages turned into phone calls. Lucas's voice warm and teasing as he shared stories about his childhood in Chicago, his love for old jazz records, his fear of never finding something real. Ethan opened up too, about his small-town roots, his struggles with coming out. The way he'd always felt like he was chasing something he couldn't name. Each conversation felt like peeling back a layer, revealing pieces of themselves they'd kept hidden. One night, Lucas suggested a second date, a quiet dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Italian place in Brooklyn. Ethan arrived first, fidgeting with his napkin, his nerves buzzing. When Lucas walked in, wearing a simple black sweater instead of his usual office attire, Ethan's heart did a somersault. They talked for hours, the candlelight casting soft shadows on Lucas's face. At one point, Lucas reached across the table, his fingers brushing Ethan's. "I'm glad it was you," he said softly. "On the app. I mean, I didn't expect this, but I'm glad." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to freeze this moment, to believe it could last. But as they left the restaurant, a coworker from Vivid Pulse passed by on the sidewalk. Ethan yanked his hand from Lucas's, his pulse spiking. The coworker didn't seem to notice, but the moment shattered something. "We can't do this here," Ethan whispered, his voice tight. Lucas's face fell, but he nodded. "You're right. I'm sorry." Back at his apartment, Ethan stared at his phone. The Connect Sphere chat open. Lucas had messaged, "I hate hiding, but I'll do whatever it takes to make this work." A heart emoji followed, but this time, it felt heavy. Ethan didn't reply. He lay awake, torn between the pull of his feelings and the fear of what they could cost him. The next day at work, tension simmered. Lucas kept his distance, but Ethan caught him stealing glances, his expression unreadable. During a lunch break, Mia cornered Ethan in the break room. "You're acting weird," she said, narrowing her eyes. "What's going on with you and this James guy?" Ethan hesitated, then lied. "It's nothing. Just figuring things out." Mia didn't buy it, but she let it go. By Friday, the strain was unbearable. Ethan was working late, tweaking a design, when Lucas appeared at his desk. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. Ethan nodded, following him to the empty conference room. Lucas closed the door, his hands shoved in his pockets. "I can't keep pretending at work," he said. "It's killing me, acting like you're just another employee. I want to be with you, Ethan. For real." Ethan's heart pounded. "And if someone finds out, what then?" Lucas stepped closer, his voice steady. "Then we deal with it together." For a moment, Ethan wanted to say yes, to throw caution to the wind. But the weight of his job, his future, held him back. "I need time," he said finally, his voice breaking. Lucas nodded, his eyes full of quiet hurt. "Take all the time you need." As Ethan left the office that night, his phone buzzed. Another message from Lucas. "I'll wait." No emoji this time. Just those two words. Raw and real. Cutting deeper than any heart ever could. Ethan spent the weekend in a fog, his apartment feeling smaller than ever. Lucas's words-ile weight echoed in his head, each syllable a tether pulling him towards something he both craved and feared. By Sunday night, he'd made a decision. He couldn't keep running from this. He opened Connect Sphere and typed, "Meet me tomorrow after work. The park. Let's talk." Lucas's reply was instant. "I'll be there." Monday was a blur of nerves and deadlines. Ethan avoided Lucas's office, focusing on his work with a ferocity that surprised even him. When the clock hit 6 p.m., he grabbed his bag and headed to Prospect Park, his heart a drumbeat in his chest. Lucas was already there, sitting on a bench, his silhouette framed against the fading light. He stood as Ethan approached, his expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. "I've been thinking," Ethan started, his voice unsteady. "About us. About what this means." Lucas nodded, silent, giving him space. Ethan took a deep breath. "I'm scared. Lucas. This could ruin everything me job. Your job. Our reputations. But I can't stop thinking about you either. About how it felt to talk to you. To be with you. It's the most real thing I've felt in years." Lucas's eyes softened, but he didn't interrupt. Ethan continued, his words spilling out. "I grew up hiding who I was. Small town. Small minds. I came to New York to be free. But I've still been hiding. Afraid of getting hurt. Then I met you, James. You. Whatever, and it's like I can finally breathe. But I don't know how to do this without losing everything else." Lucas stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "Ethan, I've spent years building walls, keeping people at a distance, being the boss, being perfect. It's lonely. Then I found you on that stupid app, and for the first time, I felt like someone saw me. Not the creative director, not the guy in charge. Just me." He paused, his gaze unwavering. "I don't have all the answers, but I know I'd rather risk everything than lose this." Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to list all the reasons this was reckless. But the truth in Lucas's words disarmed him. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Lucas reached for his hand, his touch warm and sure. "We start by being honest. With each other. With HR. I'll talk to them tomorrow. Disclose everything. We'll figure out a way to make it work." The weight of that promise hit Ethan hard. "You do that? For me?" Lucas smiled. A quiet, determined smile. "For us." The next day, Lucas kept his word. He met with HR, laying out the situation with a calm Ethan couldn't fathom. By noon, they were called into a meeting together. The HR director, a no-nonsense woman named Carla, listened as Lucas explained the accidental match, the connection, their commitment to keeping work separate. Ethan braced for the worst, but Carla's response surprised him. "We don't have a policy against relationships," she said, "as long as they don't interfere with work. But we'll need to reassign one of you to a different team to avoid conflicts of interest." Ethan's relief was tempered by a new worry. "Reassign who?" he asked. Carla shrugged. "That's for you two to decide." Outside the office, Lucas pulled Ethan aside. "I'll switch teams," he said without hesitation. "You're too good at what you do to move." Ethan shook his head. "No, I'll do it. You're the director. It makes more sense." They argued, half laughing, until Lucas grabbed Ethan's hand. "We'll figure it out together. Okay." In the weeks that followed, they did. Ethan transferred to another creative team, reporting to a new supervisor. It wasn't perfect. Whispers followed them. Curious glances from colleagues, but they faced it together. At work, they were professional. But outside, they were free. Late-night walks in the park. Quiet dinners. stolen kisses, and empty stairwells. Each moment felt like a victory, a step toward something real. One evening, months later, they sat on their bench in Prospect Park, the same one where it all began. Lucas pulled out his phone, opening Connect Sphere. "I kept our chat," he said, scrolling to the first heart emoji he'd sent. "This is where it started." Ethan laughed, leaning into him. "You and your cheesy emojis." Lucas grinned, pulling him close. "Worked, didn't it?" As the city lights blinked on around them, Ethan realized something. Love wasn't just the thrill of a match or the rush of a first date. It was the courage to risk everything, to choose each other despite the odds. And in that moment, with Lucas's arm around him and the future wide open, Ethan knew they'd already won.